This week we finished our sitting in Newcastle, Australia and flew to Melbourne to start our 17th pet sitting gig.
Wow, 17. So the host of this gig was super kind and offered to pick us up at the Melbourne airport. We met her at the pickup area, took our bags to her car, got to talking with her, met her 2-year-old toddler. Everything was great. We put all of our luggage in the car, got in the car, was about to take off, and then the kid had a complete meltdown. For his world, something big had changed. He has a complete stranger in the back seat with him, Monica, and he just wasn't having it at all. So he was having a fit. Mom was trying to calm him down. Nothing was working. So in the end, we had to make an adjustment to this change. The mom ended up sitting in the back with the toddler. Monica was in the front seat, and I ended up driving us to the house.
So this is a good reminder that our pet sitting digital nomad lifestyle is full of constant change, which may scare some people. So today we'll share some tips that help us get through these adjustments, especially when transitioning from one pet sitting gig to another. So let's dig in.
We sold all of our things, got online jobs, and share all of our adventures as traveling pet sitting digital nomads. We are Triple Digs.
In this weekly recap video, we'll look over our activities, expenses, and adventures for the week of January 29th, 2024 through February 4th, 2024. So first, let's take a look at our pet sitting calendar. So as Monica mentioned, we finished our sitting in Newcastle, Australia at the beginning of the week. And now we are in Melbourne, Australia, where we will do this sitting through the end of January and the beginning of February. Once we finish this sitting, our 90-day visa in Australia will be up. So we will need to get out of Australia, and we're gonna do that by hopping over to New Zealand and taking a vacation.
Ooh.
So after about a 10-day vacation, we're gonna start a new pet sitting gig in Auckland. We'll do that through February and March. Once we finish that sitting, we're gonna hop back over to Australia in March and do a 3-week sitting near the capital of Canberra. After doing that sitting, we're gonna return back to New Zealand to do a quick sit in Rotorua. After that, we're gonna return back to Auckland and do the same sitting for the same host for another couple of weeks. Once we finish that sitting, we're gonna go back to the States to Georgia to visit Monica's cousin. After Georgia, we're gonna take our second vacation of the year and go to the Dominican Republic. Once we finish that, we're gonna hop over to the Caribbean island of Curacao, where we have a 3-month sitting with 9 dogs and 2 cats.
Wow.
After we finish that sitting, we will return back to Georgia to Monica's cousin's place again. And then we're gonna get set to go to Okinawa, Japan for a 2-week work trip with Monica's teaching gig. After that, we have a 2-month gap before we start our next confirmed sitting, which is in Kansas City, Missouri. That's a 1-month sitting that will last from October through November. So we are almost booked out for the rest of the year. It's pretty exciting.
So here's a little update on any gaps that we have in our pet sitting calendar. And we do have a 2-month gap between Okinawa, Japan and Kansas City, Missouri. So we'll wait to apply for any pet sitting gigs to fill that gap because we don't know the exact dates of the Okinawa trip yet.
So as far as our sittings this week, we finished that Newcastle sitting in the first half of the week. And in preparation for that, we packed all of our things. And since we were on a flight, we had to be super careful on the weight of our baggage. They're very strict on weight on baggage here in Australia, so you have to be very careful. They always check in. If you're over while at the airport, then you're gonna have to pay big time. So we were super cautious about that.
Yeah, and I brought too much stuff. I know it now.
Yeah, next time we go international.
I thought I would use some of the stuff that I brought, and I'm not using it.
Yeah, so we know better next time we go international. We're gonna pack much lighter. We're like 0.1 kilograms under the weight limit. We're like right on the line. And
so as soon as we get through that certain point where all of our luggage is checked and we know that we did it all, it's like a sigh of relief, and like I just feel a load of weight lifted off of me, literally and figuratively. It's the most stressful part for me.
So once we had our bags packed, we took an Uber to the main train and bus terminal in Newcastle, and then from there we took the bus, about a 45-minute bus ride to Newcastle Airport, and then flew to Melbourne. And as we said in the beginning, the host picked us up and took us up to their house.
So once we start a new sit, these are some things that we do to help us get adjusted to these changes. Usually we start by assessing the kitchen. So we will look through to see what gadgets they have. Do they have a coffee maker? Do they have a blender? What are their spices like? We look through the cabinets to see where things are. We like to find where the dishes are. And we look through the refrigerator to see if there's room for our food and if there's any food that we can eat that they said that we could eat. And then we usually set up our workspace. So we log on to the Wi-Fi to see how strong that connection is. And do they have a good working desk? Do they have another monitor we can use? Is there a printer? Things like this to make sure that we're all set up for our work. And then we check out the sleeping accommodations. Most people have a really comfortable bed because, you know, it's their own bed. And I need to have a good pillow. So I've brought my pillow from the States. And Matt always has to pack it and he hates it. But it's really important because if I don't have a good pillow, my neck gets all crinked up and then I'm just grumpy the whole next few days. And then we unpack our luggage. Sometimes the hosts will clear some space for us in their closets or in their drawers, which is really nice because they want to make it easier for us to, you know, live temporarily in their home. They want us to feel more comfortable and that we don't have to feel like we're living out of our suitcases. So many people have done that and we're really appreciative of that. And then once we've unpacked and looked through the pantry and the refrigerator, we start thinking about groceries and meal planning. So I will look through one of my cookbooks and think about what we can eat for the next week or week and a half. And then once we've made a grocery list, we think about how are we going to get these groceries? Where is the nearest grocery store? How can we get there? Do we need to take a bus? Can we take an Uber? Do we have access to a car? And then depending on, you know, what that looks like, we either go to the grocery store and get our groceries or we arrange to have them delivered. And as we said on another video, the grocery delivery system in Australia was super cheap and really fast.
So in a nutshell, we try to get unpacked as soon as we arrive to a new city, assess everything, and make ourselves comfortable as if we're living in that space. So for us, the sooner we can do that, the more comfortable we'll feel with this big change. Of course, one change that is gonna happen at every sitting is the pets that we'll be caring for. And in this particular transition, we had a very big change. So in the previous set, we had a dog and a cat, and the dog was a very energetic puppy. A little bit untrained, but lots of energy, chasing its tail, all of that good puppy stuff. And in this sitting, we have a senior dog who is very set in his ways, very non-energetic, chill, and loves to sleep. So it's been a huge change for us. A little bit of a relief for us now that we don't have that high energy to keep up with. So we are caring for a 10-year-old greyhound. This is our first time caring for that breed. And we've learned a couple things about greyhounds so far. First of all, they're super chill, which kind of counterintuitive because, you know, greyhounds are known to be running, racing kind of dogs, but they actually like to just relax and sleep like 16 to 18 hours a day. I had no idea, and this dog absolutely loves to sleep. The other major change we've experienced with this dog is that it's a little difficult to get him to eat. All of the other dogs and cats we've ever sat for love mealtime and they're just going crazy and excited and just can't wait to be fed. We actually have to encourage this dog to come up for dinner. We have to like throw a little pep rally and sing songs and cheer him on. And we have to do this a couple of times until he actually musters up the energy to stand up and go to the bowl and actually eat his food. So big change for us, but again, it's part of, you know, being a pet sitter, and we enjoy getting to know the personalities of these different animals. So one of the duties with this dog is that we have to walk him twice a day. And Monica has a little funny story that happened this week with one of your first walks with him. Why don't you share what happened?
So yeah, I think it was the first walk that I did with him. So we walked around the neighborhood and he knows exactly where he is. He knows every single little tree, every bush, every street, every park, every playground. And he just kept walking. again, this is a new place for me. I don't know where I am. I didn't bring my phone. It wasn't like connected to the internet with directions or anything. So I'm walking and I'm thinking, okay, 30 minutes is a good walk. Yeah, let's keep going. You know, I'm feeling good. It's nice outside and he seems fine. And he's a very slow walker because he's an old greyhound and I'm talking slow, which was nice for me because I just got up. So I'm not into like, you know, walking fast at that time. We just keep walking. And then 45 minutes goes by, and then an hour, and then an hour and a half. And then we ended up getting back to the house like 2 hours later. So yeah, that was my first walk with him. And you know, I wasn't expecting to be gone that long. Okay, here we'll share a little bit of our daily living. So some of the kitchen gadgets they have at this place. It's a townhouse, so everything was a little bit smaller. They didn't have a coffee maker, but they did have this camping nano press. So that took a lot of work. You have to like pump it and press the coffee into the little container there. So that was a little bit of work. They have a small sink and dishwasher. So that was a little bit of an adjustment. And then as far as getting around, we were lucky that this sit was right down the road from the train stop. So it came very often and no problem with us getting to different places. For exercise, or this townhouse didn't have carpet, it had a hard tile flooring. So we decided to change our exercise routine and we started doing Core de Force, which is an MMA inspired cardio workouts with Joel and Jericho that we get off of Beachbody.
So this is another example of us adapting to change. During previous sits in the US, we had our adjustable hand weights with us, so we would do those kinds of workouts, and then we had to change to cardio base when we were out of the country. And now with the harder floors, we're changing again to this lower impact cardio based workouts.
Yeah, I was glad that we have all those videos to choose from the Beachbody. So it allows us to change our workout routines when we need to.
All right, let's take a look at our expenses for this week. So for groceries, we spent $145 US. Most of this was when we first arrived at our Melbourne sitting and we tried to get enough groceries to last us for about 10 days. For dining, we ended up spending $166 US, which is a little bit more than usual, but that's because we went out to Melbourne and had both a lunch and a dinner, so spending a little extra on eating out. For fuel and transportation, we spent about $10. That's for public transportation, taking the train to go into town since we are out in the suburbs a little bit. And then for fun, we actually spent money on fun this year. It's the first time we spent money on fun. We ended up spending $33. This was for the Skydeck ticket. For personal care and shopping this week, we did not spend any money, so $0 there. And then an additional expense that we take on is traveling from one sitting to another. So we ended up spending $219 US. This includes the one-way airfare from Newcastle to Melbourne and our bus ticket and Uber ride to the Newcastle airport. So let's take a look at our budget for our variable expenses. So here we have the amount we spent during week 5 for each item. And here is the budget for each week for these items, totaling to $627. So we were just a little bit under budget. We're seeing our groceries a little under, dining a little over, and then our traveling a little bit over. And if we take a look at our year-to-date expenses, here are those expenses for each line item. And these total to $1,627. And here is the year-to-date budget for each line item. And these total to $3,135. So we're about 50% almost under budget for the year. This is really great. Once again, our main categories that are bringing us under budget are groceries, dining, and vacation. So we're looking good so far, but we do have a vacation coming up soon, so we'll probably see these expenditures go up, but hopefully we can still stick under budget.
We did take a couple of excursions this week. We went to the Black Butt Reserve in Newcastle. So this was just a local wildlife reserve and it was really beautiful. Of course, it was free. There were lots of families and people walking around and lots of different types of trees, a little bit of a pond and kind of like a little creek, and lots of different birds and some kangaroos. And we saw like 3 or 4 of these beautiful, just like free walking peacocks that had all of their feathers and just the most beautiful iridescent blue. And I was just amazed at how beautiful they were. And we also went to the Sky Deck, which is at the top of the Eureka Tower in Melbourne. That stands at 974 feet. So this is downtown Melbourne, and you take the elevator up to the 88th floor, and you just get amazing 360-degree views of the city, which was just cool to see the city, the river, and the ocean. And then we walked over to the National Gallery of Victoria, which is a huge art museum, and it was free, which was really nice because it was a really hot day, so it was nice to be inside, indoors, in the air conditioning. And that was great. I love art and museums, and we saw lots of different rooms with huge pieces of modern art and classical art, and that was a great little excursion. And then we had lunch, and in Melbourne, which is a city of 5 million people, we have all different kinds of cuisines. So we had Malaysian food, which was super yummy. And that was my first time eating Malaysian food, I think. So that was a great way to end our day out in Melbourne.
All right, this is the time where we wrap up our weekly recap by sharing a favorite moment of the week. So Monica, what was your favorite moment?
I think the funniest thing was when I went on that 2-hour walk with Batman. I just couldn't believe how he just kept wanting to walk, and he wasn't going to stop until we went as far as he wanted. So I remember when I came back, I said, okay, you got to be ready for the next time. So get some podcasts downloaded, put on your comfortable walking shoes. And yeah, I think we just got a kick out of walking for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny story. For me, it was back in Newcastle when we checked out that Blackbutt Reserve. I'm still blown away at how many free outdoorsy things there are to do in Australia. You know, before we mentioned about lots of parks and just there's grills with gas that you can just show up and start cooking food at all kinds of parks in Australia. And then this was the same. There were birthday parties going on, people just hanging out, and just all these animals and exhibits that you could just walk through. We saw all kinds of tropical birds. We saw the kangaroos, the wallabies. We even saw a wombat. So I'm just amazed at how much there is to see, and it's completely free for the public. You know, it's just something that the cities and the governments have thought about as something they want to provide for their people. So that's really great. Always blows me away when you explore something like that for free. So we hope you get a little bit of an idea of the constant change that happens with this lifestyle of being a pet sitting digital nomad, and the tips and tricks that we do to try to minimize the impact of those changes. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next dig.